Welcome to this week's edition of Outdoors Online, a weekly webcast produced by the North Dakota Game and Fish Department. I'm your host, Mike Anderson. Continuing our annual fishing reports this week, my first guest is Southeast Fisheries District Supervisor BJ Kratz. BJ, you have a lot of fish species in your district. Let's talk about them one at a time. How about walleyes first?
Sure. We have a lot of walleye opportunities currently on the landscape. Maybe not after the winter, maybe not quite as many as we did last year, but just for example, the last several years we've had over 15 lakes with walleye catch per net night over 15, which is really good when you're netting lakes. And so some of those good lakes are Fox Lake, Barnes County, and Island Lake, and we've got lakes in the far southeast too that have really good walleye catch rates. Mallard Marsh is typically a good one. So there's a lot of opportunities out there right now, and they continue to grow. We still are acquiring new fisheries, though at a somewhat slower pace than we have in years past, as the water gets a little more unavailable, if you will, out there. But there should be some good chances to catch.
Okay, let's move on to your northern pike populations, BJ.
Northern pike, we've kind of, over the years, as everybody knows, we've kind of gotten away from stocking as many as we used to because the public in general favors walleye. That being said, however, what we need is a couple of years like we might have this spring with some good natural reproduction possibilities. But we have some decent pike populations. Barnes Lake, for example, in northern Stutzman County is a good one. It's still got a good stronghold of pike. A Kalmbach Lake, typically a classic lake that we've managed for northern pike for forever. They're smaller lakes, but they have, for people that like to catch pike, those are good opportunities. And then Diamond Lake and Twin Lakes, by Lemoore always has pike opportunities. Although, like I stated, the populations in general are down somewhat because of just kind of backed off on stocking and the lack of reproduction that's occurred over the last several years. So.
Okay, let's move on to panfish.
Right. Well, as most anglers like to chase perch, we've got quite a plethora of perch lakes. Most folks like to chase those in the wintertime. There's not a lot of people that show interest in the summer. But that being said, they're still out there. I mean, there's some of the lakes, like an Island Lake and Fox Lake, have a lot of, and even Ashtabula has come on now again a little bit for perch. So if people like to go out there and catch a bag of species, you can always find some perch too, and they're usually cooperative. Moon Lake is a good one for a lot of action. The fish aren't real big. And then we have North Eccleston and so forth. So the perch are on the landscape. They're just not as popular in the summer as they are in the winter, but they're kind of a forgotten fish in the summer.
Sure. How about crappies?
Crappies are stronghold, at least so far still, is Jamestown and Pipestem. We're hoping that we can make it through the winter in terms of both the reservoirs. Jamestown isn't in very good shape either. Pipestem isn't looking so good either. But Lake Lemoore, over the last several years, has turned on. We've got a crappie fishery up and coming at Pheasant Lake down south in Dickey County. So, those are basically our crappie lakes. And then we have Grass Lake, which again, down in Richland County and so forth. We're not sure on oxygen yet in the wintertime, but hopefully they'll pull through there. And then Alkali Lake down there too also has a good crappie population.
You have some good bass fishing in your district.
We do.
Also.
And that's kind of untapped so far. People are finding out about it, but Lake Ashtabula for sure is probably one of the better smallmouth lakes in the state for that matter. We've been able to electrofish it now for 3 years, and we're getting some good data in place, and we're getting really great catch rates and a good size structure of fish, from small fish all the way up to 5 pound plus fish. And as you might expect, we're getting a lot of interest from tournament people too that have heard word and have experienced some good smallmouth fishing out there. So that Ashtabula and Spiritwood both are pretty fine smallmouth waters.
When we talked in December, we talked about water levels, BJ, and you said your lakes are holding their own, but they could use a drink.
Right.
All this snow going to help?
It is. There's a blessing to having all the snow. Unfortunately, it's hard on things, but the beauty of it is in the spring when it does melt, we should see a little bounce in water levels. And that far southeast part of my district, anyway, probably needed the most relief of the whole district. And it sounds like there's ample snow out there. So, with increasing water levels comes increasing productivity, and you can jumpstart systems again after sometimes a down period where the productivity has kind of waned a little bit because of the lack of water, and now we can start things over again in some of these and hopefully generate a second wind, if you will.
Okay, and you guys just finished your dissolved oxygen testing on district lakes recently.
Right.
What'd you find?
Well, not as bad as we thought, but you know, probably the most troubling is Pipestem Reservoir. And we had a similar situation in 2012 and 2013 where oxygen was actually a little bit better than it is now, and we still lost the pike, a lot of the pike, and the walleye fishery for sure. And I expect this year we'll probably lose the walleye fishery and the perch fishery that we've established the last 6 years in there. And there will be some crappie kill mortality for sure. It's just hard to say at this point. We've got a fair amount of winter left, and we didn't see improvements in 2013 until April in dissolved oxygen when you have all this snow and so forth. So Jamestown Reservoir is a little better, but it's still kind of in that gray area right now that I expect to see some dead fish this spring. So other than that, Colm Edgley Dam, I suspect a fish kill there. Other than that, for the most part, we're doing pretty decent. But again, we've got a couple weeks yet, and it just depends on what happens.
Sure. Any unique projects going on in your district this spring, summer?
Not really. We're going to try to get into Ashtabula again, you know, as part of we went in there to try to spawn fish. We used to spawn pike and Ashtabula regularly, but we've kind of lost our data set from the pike population, and because there are large northern pike in Ashtabula, it is one of our unique fisheries and it harbors really large pike. We want to try to get a good size distribution on what actually is in that lake, as you know the water from Devil's Lake comes in there, and that system, the dynamics of that system changes, and kind of see what that pike population does. So other than that, that's about it. Just a kind of a special netting assessment for pike to get some length frequency information, but that's about it for the southeast.
A lot of good information, BJ. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Joining me now is North Central District Supervisor Jason Lee. Jason, you manage Lake Audubon and the North Central District Lakes. I want to focus on fish populations in Audubon first. Let's talk walleyes.
Sure. As far as our netting results last summer, I would expect more of the same this summer. Our overall catch rate was pretty similar. A lot of 13 to 15 inch walleyes in the system right now. So yeah, walleyes, expect more of the same. Some big northern pike in Lake Audubon. Every spring we hear of some 40 plus inch fish caught out of there. The smallmouth bass population is doing really well. Wide range of sizes with some bigger fish. So yeah, it's looking good.
How about the muskie population in Lake Audubon?
Yeah, we've been stocking muskie for a number of years in Audubon now, and we do hear of some muskies being caught, not a lot yet. We aren't putting a lot of muskies in, but we're just trying to diversify the fishery a little bit by adding something different for anglers to pursue.
Okay, last summer and this winter, you had a project on Lake Audubon too.
Yeah, we did a creel survey, and we do that survey every third year on Lake Audubon. Things went well this summer, collected some good information. The survey is ongoing right now. We had quite a bit of effort in December and January, but then it started snowing in February, and the snow just kept piling up, and effort really dropped off as the snow got so heavy and access got really difficult on Audubon. So it's been slower lately, but as the snow melts and it gets nicer, more people will get out and fish.
Okay, let's move on to your district lakes.
Okay.
How are walleye populations doing in the district lakes?
They're doing good. When you look at our netting results from last summer, a few lakes that I would suggest for walleye would be like New Johns Lake, Brush Lake, Antelope Lake, Clear Lake, Cottonwood Lake, Hints, and then Hiddenwood Lake. We saw some of our better catches there.
Okay, how about northern pike?
Northern pike, Brush Lake is typically pretty good. Buffalo Lodge is a consistent producer. Some big pike up in Lake Metagoshi and Lake Audubon. A couple more Long Lake up in Bottineau County and Strawberry Lake in McLean County.
Okay, how about panfish?
Panfish, we have a lot of perch scattered in our lakes throughout the district. For bigger perch, I would look at Antelope Lake and Clear Lake.
Okay.
And then for bluegill and crappie, Nelson Lake is a good one. And then just bluegill in Harmony Lake and Lake Metagoshi.
Okay. How about bass?
Bass, smallmouth bass in Lake Audubon are popular, and the Canal Lakes, New Johns, East West Park, and Heckers are probably our most popular smallmouth bass lakes. And then, of course, Nelson Lake for largemouth bass.
Jason, you have a new lake, fairly new lake in your district, Painted Woods Lake.
Yeah, that's a new pond that the Save Our Lakes program worked on last year. It was a dam that was blown out. It only had a max depth of about 5 or 6 feet. So through Save Our Lakes, we cleaned that dam out, fixed the dam, plugged it up, put in a new outlet structure, and so now the max depth will be around 12 feet. And we've kind of fixed it up for to gear it towards kids fishing with some good shoreline access, and we're going to stock that with rainbow trout annually, catchable rainbow trout.
Okay, and west of Rhoda Lake was dry last year. Why?
Yeah, it was. We'd noticed a leak in the dam when we were down there doing some work, and the leak came from a pipe that came through the dam. So there was some concern with the safety of the dam and the road going over the top of the dam. So we drained the dam as fast as we could so that could be fixed. That pipe could be plugged and fixed. So the pipe is plugged, and they're going to put a new drawdown system on the dam, and then it'll just refill as we get snow or water or whatever precip to fill it back up.
A lot of good information, Jason. Thank you.
You bet. Thanks.
Anglers are reminded they need a new fishing license starting April 1st. Licenses can be purchased by going to the North Dakota Game and Fish Department's website at gf.nd.gov or by calling 800-406-6409 or going to more than 140 vendor locations throughout the state. New this year, hunters and anglers will be given the opportunity to register as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. By clicking the link after purchasing a license, users will be directed to the North Dakota Department of Transportation Donor Registry. For more information regarding donor registry, visit DOT's website shown on the screen or contact LifeSource directly at 888-5-DONATE. For Jason Lee, BJ Kratz, and the rest of the staff here at the Game and Fish Department, thanks for joining us for this week's Outdoors Online. We'll see you again next week.